Hey, RecLess fans, this is Tom here, and I'm proud to announce that this episode and all of Season 5 is brought to you by our friends at Civic Plus. For all of our Parks and Rec pros, do you ever feel like you're constantly putting out fires? Registrations, facility bookings, team calendars, it's nonstop juggling. And all that admin work? It's keeping you from what really matters, serving your community. That's where Civic Plus comes in. Their comprehensive parks and recreation management solution streamlines everything, from online registration to facility scheduling and payments, all in one place. Parks and Recreation Management by Civic Plus automates the busy work that bogs you down so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time creating unforgettable programs for your residents. Civic Plus is the trusted partner of thousands of high-performing civic leaders, helping them balance better services with limited resources. With over 25 years of experience and a team of 900 experts, Civic Plus powers over 10,000 organizations and touches 340 million lives every day. If you're ready to trade burnout for impact, then visit civicplus.com. The best run local governments run on Civic Plus technology. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 5 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from across the country bringing you a surprise guest each episode. Listen in on a great conversation, maybe take some notes, and definitely enjoy a couple of laughs. This is RecLess.
Welcome to episode 96 of RecLess podcast, focusing on the industry of park and rec through three close friends, work friends, real friends, every capacity of friends possible.
You hear that, Tom? That's how you do it.
Great. We are we're always friends no matter what it is. So that's
right.
Where we are. So I'm always happy to be with my good friends Jay, Shane, and Tom. I guess I'm saying this today. But no, Shane and Tom, what's going on, guys?
What's up?
Hey guys, I've given the friends conversation a lot of thought, and I want you to know that you're emphasizing the wrong word. It's friends, and let me just give you the example that I thought of that I believe you guys are crazy. When you
because you said you could prove it. That's what you said last week.
I can. When you talk to someone and you say, "Yeah, a good buddy of mine, a friend from college," "Oh yeah, my high school friend." You're all friends. It's just a term of how we met. It's context. But
yeah, but
friends,
a high school friend you may not talk to anymore and may not like communicate with at all. Because like you were friends in high school, but are you still friends with them?
I introduced y'all to as my dual best men at my wedding with Hannah. Is that not what happened? Were y'all not both standing next to me in 2000? Yeah. I got it right, Hannah.
we were in high school still.
Oh yeah, that's right. Awkward.
Well, we're going to move on because I have a little bit of a different type of question today. We're going to have some fun. And it really sparked from one of the facts that my guest today shared with me. So we're going to be quick and easy. Hopefully it's not going to take a long time because I want to get to the guest. But I want to know if there was a favorite childhood TV show that you don't watch anymore because it doesn't exist, or that, maybe it's still on, but you've seen it a million times, so you don't watch it anymore. But what was one of your favorite childhood TV shows?
Talking cartoon or
any
part of your childhood?
Yeah, it can be, whether you were 5 or you were 12. It does not matter.
Sure.
I got one if Tom's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, go ahead. I got mine. The first one that came to my head.
One of my all-time favorite shows as a kid was Coach. Craig T. Nelson. It was Jerry Van Dyke. It was Dick Van Dyke's brother. The guy that was Dauber. I can't remember that character's real name, the actor. But like coaching was something I connected with. But I just thought the premise was hilarious. I thought the interactions were great. Jerry Van Dyke and how he reacted to everything was, I thought, hilarious. We named our son Hayden, kind of in a hat tip to both Hayden Fox, the character, and Hayden Fry, the coach, who we were up in Iowa and had a lot of respect for, or we were in Illinois next to Iowa and had a lot of respect for. So who that character was based off of. So yeah, the TV show Coach.
Okay. Yeah, I got two.
Minnesota State.
That's what I do.
Screaming Eagles, whatever it was.
So I'm going to go with a very my real childlike show, and that was cartoon, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was obsessed, loved the dynamic. I was a Michelangelo guy.
Mm.
Just fun-loving dude.
That's
Ate
a
a
future
ton of
question.
pizza.
That's a
Which
future
turtle are
question.
we?
Which
Which
turtle
turtle
are
are we?
we? Yeah, that's a one.
So yeah, I was a big Michelangelo guy, and then of course, and the movies came out when I was, after the cartoons. Obviously, the movies came out. Vanilla Ice was in the second one. It was a whole thing, and now it's resurfaced, which is actually kind of neat. The newest TNMT movie was kind of a more artsy, and we showed that at one of our movies in the park. So it's kind of cool to share that with my kids that the turtles are a thing. As far as a show with people, though, I think there's a difference there too. The first one that popped in my head when you asked this was Saved by the Bell.
Mm.
I figured
And
someone was going to say that, so
yeah,
I was
so I mean, I'm
curious.
sure I'm not alone in that, but
Kelly
there's something.
Kapowski.
There's Kelly Kapowski, my first crush ever. Melissa, I hope you don't feel any offense to this, and Tiffany Amber Thiessen, if you're listening, which you probably do,
Yeah,
you're
obviously.
welcome. So yeah, I wanted to be Zach Morris. I was always like, why does this guy get this blonde hair? He's got a giant cell phone, and I was I'm a Braves fan, and I don't know if you remember this, but TBS, Turner Broadcast, they used to have rights to the Braves games, and they also used to syndicate Saved by the Bell almost every day after school for maybe 2 episodes. So that was kind of the routine. I would get home from school and
Yeah,
watch some Saved by the Bell, maybe catch a Braves game, but yeah, Saved by the Bell and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Wow.
that's awesome. How many other people that are between the ages of 40 and 45 would also say their first crush was Kelly Kapowski?
Yeah, that's pretty
Probably a
pivotal, I
lot.
think, in a lot of
Probably a
in a
lot.
lot of
And
guys'
maybe a
lives.
little bit even like bigger range, maybe 35 to 45 or 50, who knows? But yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably a common choice there for people saying that. I'm going to go with Tom, and I'm going to actually give you two as well, only because Tom did. So I'm going to follow the trend. And the first one that came to me when I was like reading the information from our guest, I was like thinking, I'm like, oh, TV shows. I loved the show, and I don't know if you even, this may not be a common show. It was called Are You Afraid of the Dark? Do you
Never
remember
heard
that?
of it.
I remember.
So it
Never heard of
was
it.
on Nickelodeon, and it was like a Saturday night
Yeah.
show.
It's a little scary for me.
There you go. But yeah, it was more of like in the realm of like when the Goosebumps books were coming out, and like there's other, semi-scary shows, and I loved it. And I just, for some reason, that came to mind because it didn't last that long. It was maybe like 5 seasons or 5 years. I don't know. But it wasn't like a huge, like, Saved by the Bell. Everyone knows that term or that show. So everyone would be able to relate to that. But that one was definitely one. And then when Shane said his, I definitely didn't like think of my parents watched Coach. So like I didn't think of Coach as like a kid show. So I was
Right.
thinking more like when I was a little bit older, and I was a massive David Letterman fan to
Huh.
the point where I was like staying up every night in high school, like even freshman, sophomore year, maybe even middle school, like watching every David Letterman show. And I had certain guests that I was always watching when he had him on, and like Jack Hanna, who's an animal expert, was always hilarious when he was on his show, and I always liked his top 10 list and everything. But that's the other one that I thought of just because we were going not just teen or comic book theme, but or animation theme, but also more adult themed a little bit when he said Coach.
Yeah, just one question for both of you, a little more on that adult, young, or young adult, teen. Being the younger brother, I was always exposed to, I think I told you this before, I was always exposed to TV and things that I probably shouldn't have watched. The mafia movies that my 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old brother was watching, and I was 10, 9, 10, 11. The language, not quite appropriate. But we religiously, my brother and I would stay up on Saturday nights and watch Saturday Night Live during the Adams. It was the Adam Sandler era. Those guys, Chris Rock, Chris Farley. You guys,
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live guys, at one point.
I never was.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I think the highlights of it have always been better than the whole hour or
Sure.
whatever. Like that there are moments of brilliance, but it's tough. I think it's just tough for them to be really funny every week for 20 or 30 years. At times it just falls flat, I guess, for me. But I also didn't watch it as a kid. So I think if I'd have grown up with it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still get a kick out of like the weekend updates because some of the
Yep.
trends that started back in, the early days are still there.
Some
And
of their stuff's really good, but
yeah,
then some of it's a
yeah,
tough premise. Like
sure is.
we're going to take someone who's not a comedian, we're going to bring them in, we're going to give them 3 days of intense improv, and you're going to do it live before an audience. And sometimes it hits really well, and sometimes it's like, that was all right.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to start some fun facts here and see if you guys can guess who we got today. So,
Let's go. Do we know what their favorite show is? What triggered it? Something they said.
Were they?
Yeah,
They
okay.
must have been part of a show. Were they
They were a
actors?
kid actor.
it's one of the facts I'm about to read.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so today's guest has served in a variety of leadership roles for their state association, including executive board president, president-elect, vice president, and also served on their annual conference committee. They recently completed the Spartan trifecta. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Shane's probably never done a Spartan race.
Couldn't even tell you what a trifecta is.
I've done one Spartan race. It was awesome. So this person has done the trifecta. So it was a 10K in Colorado Springs, a 5K sprint in Nashville, and a 21K beast in Spain. So 3 different levels of Spartan races. So do you know what a Spartan race is, Shane?
No, like, do they scream Spartan while they run, or
So you're doing a race, but you're having to do obstacles at the same time.
Gotcha.
So you might be, climbing under barbed wire. You might be going through like a muddy pit. That is, you have to go underwater mud, and you have to climb through tires and climb over ladders and jump over walls and climb ropes and all these different things.
We have too much
intense.
we have too much time in our lives. We just
Fun.
have, like, if we went back whenever the Spartans were alive and we said, hey, we're doing this thing, they'd say, why are you doing this? Why? We were doing this to survive. You are doing this because you're
For
bored on a
fun.
Saturday. Yeah. Crazy.
I think the 3 of us should do one together one day.
Maybe we could shorten that just a bit.
Okay. Our guest also is a avid podcast listener, but they like
not
true
ours.
crime podcasts. That's
True crime.
their
I get
mode
it.
of podcast.
That's how they say they're not a listener of our, no. It's just we like true crime better.
So as a kid, this guest was a member of the ALF fan club. Do you know the TV show?
Yeah.
Alf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what prompted that question. Okay.
Wow.
Our
That
guest
is
spent
interesting.
The first 11 years of their career at different organizations in New York before moving to their current state. Our guest once completed a Mount Everest-based camp trek in 2017. Our guest and I graduated director school together, and now we serve on the SMS board for Supervisors Management School. So that narrows that down. There's only 8 or 9 of us that are on that board. Our guest was this year's
Are they from
recipient-
Colorado?
What?
Are they from Colorado?
That's where they live right now.
Karen?
Our guest was this
O'Donnell?
year's recipient of the Dirk Richwine Mentorship Award that's given out at an NRPA conference. And then this one's for Shane. So our guest shared with me that they actually used Shane's RFP as a starting point, and they also learned a lot from him in his NRPA presentation in 2023. So there's a little bit of a connection there.
Well, they're a unicorn there. They're the only one I think that learned anything.
So today's guest is the Director of Parks and Recreation in the Wheat Ridge, Colorado. Please welcome Karen O'Donnell.
Welcome. Hello.
Unmuting would help. Hey, how are you?
Hey.
How's it
I'm
going?
a podcast listener, not a host.
Yeah. No, this is great.
Yeah, great to see you.
Yeah,
you
welcome.
too.
Good guess there, Shane. He got it. I wanted to keep going with a couple more, but I had to give him credit.
I don't know how to say this without sounding terrible, but I'm going to say it anyways. She seems incredibly fit. Like, when you see her, she seems like someone that could run or climb, or, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, oh, maybe when I was thinking of the people on the board, we just said, maybe if it's one in Colorado, maybe it's Karen. So you look like someone that would do something terrible, like climb under barbed wire for hours or whatever.
Correct. Yeah. I like a little bit of torture, I guess.
A glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
Just because we're on that topic, and before I get to my real first question, I saw a reel on Instagram yesterday about the best hikes to do around the country, and one of them I've actually done, and it was in Colorado. It was the Manitou Incline, and I'm just curious, have you ever done that?
I've done it twice.
Yeah,
See,
that's brutal.
once wasn't even enough. for
No.
her. Once was not enough.
I hated every second of it. The second time I did it was definitely caving to peer pressure. A friend that had never done it and wanted to do it. And I said, okay, fine. And
so, yeah.
man, it's brutal.
I'll have to send that one to you, Shane. For someone that doesn't like to walk a lot, I mean, you've walked more lately, but I know at conference you get
Yeah.
sometimes like, hey, I don't want to go walking. This is just a straight hike up a mountain of over 2,800 steps at like a crazy like 50-degree angle. It's insane.
Is
And
that the steps where it's like railroad ties and people
yes.
are like, yeah, I mean, like, Karen, we got to get y'all some better hobbies. Like, have you ever tried Texas barbecue or a road trip? I think we could fill this time better. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, we can work on that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I haven't
that's
done that
insane.
one in a while, and I hopefully will never do it again. But
I loved it.
actually, Jay, like the most irritating thing is coming down. The trail's really thin coming down, and there's the super athletes that run down, and you have
Yeah.
to move out of their way constantly. It's irritating. Those people are too much.
I might trip them.
You
It might have been a
Insane.
stick, you know.
Okay, well, here we go. So, Karen, thank you for being here. I want to touch on a couple of things. So, this past year for you has been awesome. You just to highlight some accomplishments, both for you more personally and professionally. A few months ago, your department had a grand opening for a beautiful new park. I mentioned it earlier. You were chosen as the Dirk Richwine Award winner. You were the chair of SMS, and you adopted a new master plan not that long ago. So I'm just curious, like from a motivation perspective, what motivates you to strive for both personal accomplishments as well as just your incredible department accomplishments?
I think there's a lot of different things, but when you talk about motivation professionally, I think the thing that stands out to me as number one is watching other people grow in their career and succeed, particularly direct reports. And I have a couple of examples of that. Like I look back, my previous job, I was the recreation manager for the city of Commerce City. When I started, there was a recreation supervisor named Chad, who was great at his job technically, would come in at 9, would leave at 5. There just wasn't that much that would motivate him. And when we had a sales tax initiative that passed and we built a brand new rec center, an outdoor aquatic complex, and renovated our existing center. So we had some pretty amazing capital project opportunities. I asked him if he wanted to be involved in that because he had a little bit of a background in facility design, and it just reignited this passion. And that he did such a tremendous job. So for me, that motivation is finding that thing in others that really helps them grow and succeed. And looking now, like through the years, he's now a director of Parks and Recreation in the community where I used to work. And so just watching that happen was a pretty tremendous thing to see from my perspective. And then similarly, I work with an amazing team. I would say both there, here, I can't say enough about the employees I work with, but there is, occasionally that shining star. So here we had the opportunity when I first started, we had an administrative assistant position, and I tweaked that to be a grant and special project administrator. That's what I called it. So this person was writing and administering grants and overseeing our CAPRA accreditation. So just creating a position for that through just organizational restructuring. And the person that I put in that role didn't have the experience, but was an awesome employee here already and was eager to learn and has brought in millions of dollars in grants and is just like skyrocketing. He's so incredibly smart and accomplished. And just being able to contribute to that is my favorite part about my job.
That's awesome.
It's interesting to hear that you had someone you worked with that was a true typical 9-to-5er in this job, because I know as you go up in administration, it's possible, but it still seems tough. Was it that the staff kind of covered some of those things? He just completely, they trusted y'all to handle those things, and they were on call if you needed it. Is that how that worked? Or was there something where sometimes communities just aren't as active on nights or weekends, or some of those, or you don't have a rec center that's super busy? You know what I mean? Like you don't have athletic leads at night or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it worked with this individual's position. He was the facility supervisor. So, and at that time, we only had one recreation center, and there were coordinators that he supervised that were there at different times of day. And so he'd only need to come in if it was a major fire of sorts, or, when we had major special events in the city, it was all hands on deck. So in that instance, certainly he was present. But
always there.
Beyond that, I mean, he's just a person that would leave when it was the time to leave and didn't stay a minute longer if you didn't have to. You know what I mean? So
does Colorado as a state, not just maybe industry-wide, but probably also just the people of Colorado, get work-life balance better, you believe, than potentially other people in our industry? Because it's such a active, you could be in a town or a state, and I'll say Texas or somewhere in the South where we're less active, we're not as healthy, and we pour into the job maybe potentially. But you have a town, anytime you always see a state map or a national map and you see the states represented and the healthiest states, Colorado is always that one shining star in the darker sections of the state that are always surrounding it. Does it do work-life balance really well, do you believe? Like, is there a healthier understanding of what work means and what being a person outside of work is?
I think that's a good question, but I think it probably depends on the organization. And I mean, I can speak to when Jay was introducing me and all of the things that I had going on last year. There was no work-life balance with all that stuff going on the same year.
You got a lot.
And I completed my evaluation and wrote all of that. And then when I met with my supervisor, the city manager, he was like, oh my gosh, just reading it, like my self-eval, he was like, you really did have a lot. And I was like, now it's not like I don't have anything now, but those major things are done. And I feel like I can kind of take a little more time for that. And I think it's just each individual is different. As a supervisor, I do push that a lot and talk to my direct reports about capacity and don't say yes to something if you truly don't have the capacity, unless, of course, it needs to be done. And I'm asking you to do it, of course. But a lot of times, like the individual I was talking about, his name's Brandon, that's our grant and special project administrator. People from other departments will come and say, hey, can you help me with this? Because they know he's responsive, he's smart. Like they want him on their team for this, that, or the other thing. And he'll talk to me about it. And I said, what do you think? Do you want to do it? Do you have the capacity to do it?
Right.
So sometimes that's really hard for folks to say no, but I think that's so important to, as a supervisor, to emphasize that work-life balance and how important that is. So as a state, I can't say for sure, but I do know, a lot of employees in Parks and Rec across the state, and they're all pretty avid outdoors people for the most part. So I'd like to think people get that time and balance.
That's a great perspective for the guys hop on. We talk about work-life balance and burnout and everything else, but I've never heard it said that we're an industry of people that don't say no very well. Everything we're ever asked to do, hey, will you do this? Will you also do this? Hey, you've been to state conferences. Now will you run to state conference? And we've had people, we're almost 100 episodes in, and we've had so many examples of people being asked to do something and just saying yes. And in some ways, we even kind of canonize that and say how great it is that you show up and you do these things and you just continue to say yes to everything. That's probably where ourselves as an industry actually do have pretty poor work-life balance. It isn't the workload and it's the work. It isn't our goals or our ambition, and it's probably something to do with that. We just don't say no very well. That was a perspective I've never heard us really hit it from that angle.
No, and I think it's two things. I think it's you're right, we don't say no very often. And I think the second part of it is we're tasked a lot by city leaderships and county leaderships to take on more because they know we can. So like, for example, for us here, like we haven't always ran our parade by Park and Rec. The city's always done a parade, but it wasn't always done through our department, but now it is. And there's other events that are similar that other, municipalities run that, Park and Rec can take that on, or Park and Rec can do that. We talk about that when we're talking about even like managing different amenities of like, let's give them the cemetery, let's give them the boathouse, all these different things that like might come from a different department, but it gets pushed to us for maybe because we said yes and we always say yes, or because they trust us because we can adapt and, learn how to do that in a different way. But then back to what you were saying, Shane, I were asking, I wonder if that whole like work-life balance in Colorado and other states, it could be a valid question or study to look into, or is it more users in those states because of the beautiful scenery and outdoor spaces versus, you're not going to be as active in the winter right now up in New York as you are year round in California or Texas.
Well, there's even some levers so Rec Camp, BRS, the architectural firm, does a rec camp, and they've done it in Colorado for a couple of years. And so we went up there to tour it. And the cities, so the levers that the state and the communities, municipalities have for funding are different than I've experienced in the state I've worked in. And so you'll go to a town, that's a town of 12,000 people. And if you went to that town in Texas or you went to that town in somewhere else, they would not have a rec center that you would be jealous of. But every rec center up there is a rec center that you're jealous of. And so, I just was thinking, man, if they have all these outdoor pursuits, but they also have these indoor opportunities, even in the smaller towns, maybe they just value what life outside of there are places in the world that they don't care about your title. They don't care who you are, what you do. They care about who you are and what you care about. I don't know if America is one of those. We definitely title driven. We want to know what you do and how important you are. And I think that leads to some of our work-life balance issues as well. So it was just interesting to hear that there was someone that was running a facility that kind of had a bit of a 9 to 5 in a state where there's more outdoor pursuits and a lot of really incredible facilities. I just thought, man, I wonder if they're just doing it better than us.
I think just one thing to hit on because you mentioned funding's a little different, just because I think your listeners might find it interesting, but I believe Colorado is the only state in the country where lottery dollars go towards parks and recreation. So
the pot dollars too, right? Doesn't the marijuana funds go to roads, streets, and schools or something?
Something like that. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Not to me. That's all I know.
Gotcha.
I think another interesting narrative on that before we get to another question is if you think about the work-life balance, I'd love to know what percentage in a different state, their organizations, municipalities, whatever it is, are encouraging programs for their teams, their staff to say, use the facilities. We want you to do that. And I know we've had some in New York where it's health insurance related, where if you take a class, you get a reimbursement or whatever it is. But that's different than your agency saying every one of our team members, you have a free membership annually to whatever it is, the fitness center or the park or whatever it might be that you might see you typically charging the public to. I would assume that that's not standard across the board. I know that in our area that is not a standard deal here, that we're pushing that to our employees. So that might have something to do with it as well. You talked about the facilities being a lot more flush and available. And so I agree with Karen. I mean, it's definitely going to vary based on the individual, but also the situation or the area that you're in and how that organization, I guess, statewide perceives the value of work-life balance or physical activity. So, Karen, I want to transition, though, out of that a little bit. And I believe that, and maybe just kind of go back to the always saying yes a little bit to get into my question. Always saying yes, and Jay, you said you had a really good narrative on that. It positions us, though. I think a lot of Parks and Rec agencies feel a need to position themselves at the top by saying yes, because you're competing with the police, you're competing with highway, and the public sees those as we've always said, they see them as essential. And we might have this kind of inferiority complex where we know that we're essential, but we don't know if everybody backs that, whether it's our elected officials or whoever it may be. So I appreciate that your organization or that you created a position and restructured to have a grant writer, someone who's working on special projects. I can relate to that. We don't have that. And so we have individuals on our team that are doing all bits and pieces of it. Shane, we've talked about this before. You can put 100% into one basket, one project, and do it really, really well. Or you can put 20% into 5 different projects, and what's the end result going to be? So my question is, how did you leverage that? And I guess I'm assuming that your organization does not have a grant writer for every department. That's specific to your department, and now that's very attractive to the other departments who might need someone to assist or have that knowledge or expertise. How did you leverage and get your board to say, or not ask the question, why do you need that? You're the Recreation and Parks Department. We don't even have one of those for finance or for whatever it might be.
Well, for me, it was pretty easy. And I just had to go to the way it works in my city is just talk with HR and eventually get it supported by our city manager. So I didn't have to go to city council or anything like that with that request, as long as you're not asking, if you're asking for a brand new position, but it was like trading one for the other. So I wasn't changing my head count.
And Karen, just to clarify, because Colorado's sometimes different. You're a city, not a park district, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I know that you've had Hillary on before, and they're a little different. They're our neighbor. And I was actually telling Jay, as we were getting on here, we have major windstorms here in Colorado, and they're actually closed today.
Oh, wow. So,
dealing with some stuff, but we're right down the road and we're still open and functioning. I was very concerned that I wouldn't have power for this, but here we are. So to get back to the question, that was, I just put together a justification. The position that was here was previously was fine, but it was something that I didn't feel like I needed. It was, I need like minimal support in terms of admin stuff because I can do a lot of it myself. And I felt that there was more value in that grant writing and being able to do more projects and support programs through supplemental funding. So that felt more important to me. And again, we are CAPRA certified and continuing that. It was like, well, who's going to oversee that moving forward? So, but it's interesting the way that you ended the question differently than you started it, Tom, because my brain was going in a different direction because as mentioned in my bio, I was in New York.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about where you are. I knew who you were, just so you know. Like I think you're a bit younger than me, but I remember you being very involved in the state when I was there. So like your name was around. I knew you were like an up and comer.
Did they always roll their eyes when they mentioned him? That's what happens currently? I don't know if that's what was happening back then.
No.
Oh, gotcha.
But we were in different regions. I was in Westchester County, so I mean, it was more like when state conference came around, that kind of thing. So anyway. But my experience in New York was that it was the first thing cut. I remember being at a city council meeting where it was like a council member brought up, why do we even need Parks and Recreation? Like the YMCA can just do it. I mean, that came up and I thought my boss, the superintendent, had spent her entire career in this city and she was approaching retirement and that's the value. Like I can't even imagine, that blew my mind. So it was really at that point that I thought, you know what, I need to leave or I'm just not going to be happy here. So, Colorado is just so different. It kind of goes back into Shane's question. Like, Colorado is where people value Parks and Recreation, our residents, our city council. I mean, it's actually really funny. At the end of every council meeting, they go around the room and each council member says something that's going on. And every time it's like Parks and Recreation is so great. That event was so great. Thank you to your team, Karen. And all the other directors roll their eyes at me like, okay, Parks and Rec is so great. But it's true. The value is so different here that it just makes working here such a joy, truly. And we don't have to compete. Like we really don't. It's all of our departments are valued equally.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to ask you about your journey in New York. And before I let Shane or Jay jump in, I just want to thank you for that amazing plug. Everybody come to New York.
Your part of New York may be
They
much
value so much.
One community.
I say that jokingly and in all honesty, perceived value in these different states, you can feel it from anywhere you go, whether it's a national conference or just visiting another state. It's 100%. It's real, that perceived value. There are pockets, there are counties that are different. Absolutely. 100%. But a great example is how many people from North Carolina or Florida or Texas or Colorado are going to the national conference. When we talk about how many people from New York State, because we get a list of those individuals or through the society, the number is mind-boggling. It makes no sense. And why would that be, Karen? It's because support. It's because what was cut, and some of these departments have to fight very, very hard to get the support for anything, let alone professional development. So you're not wrong. It's not a terrible place, though. All right, everybody. If you want to come to New York, we'll welcome you with open arms.
And really awesome employees. I worked with great people, but it's so funny that you say that because at an NRPA in Orlando this year, it was the first time I saw so many people that I worked with. They have never been to NRPA. And just, it's been years and it was just kind of a great little work reunion there.
Yeah.
So,
I've never actually thought about it in that context, Tom, but you're so right. If you think about NRPA or, any conference, there's not a lot of representation from New York. And it doesn't mean that there's not, that many departments or there's not that much, people that are interested in going. But yeah, you might not have the support that you have. And there's always a ton of people from Texas, Colorado, Carolinas, Florida, it's just, but it's interesting you say that. But I do also go back to what Karen said. And in some areas, and I'll use like where I'm from in Buffalo, like the YMCAs do like run Buffalo. Like there is not a dominant department that people rely on for Park and Rec other than the YMCA. So that could be part of it as well.
Do you think it's one of those things that, like Jay, we were talking about it, you're doing bond CIP projects, and it's not just enough to do that well. You have to also tell the story of how well you're doing it to your community and constantly remind council of how well you're doing with these bond projects, that they're on time, that they're at or maybe even under budget, or that they're going to impact the community in some way. Like to hear someone that served that community for so long and a council member not, or an alderman or whatever they were, not find value in them is a terrible feeling. You also wonder if we failed that person because we weren't encouraging them to tell their story better in a way that maybe, even if that person from the dais has that argument, the 12 people in the room and the 1,200 on Facebook says, no, you're wrong. That my kids are doing this, this, and this, or I've seen this, this, and this. And I think we didn't used to have to tell our story very well. And I think, one, we're having to tell our story better. And two, when you see, it reminds me of Ann Beck. She just opened up a All Abilities Play Park, and they had 3 or 4 kids that helped design it, play on it first, and they videotaped it. Well, you can say that, you can present that, or you can videotape it, put it with some really cool music, and post it on Facebook. And you don't really have to defend yourself anymore. That thing's going to defend it for you.
So it's funny you bring that up. They posted that video on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Mansfield did. I shared it with my public affairs team to say, hey, because we're getting ready to build our first, inclusive playground, and it's going to go in the spring. And I'm like, I want to do this. I want to actually, because we had a group of folks that came to build and, plan this park. And I want to get them there first. And I want to do the same exact thing they did. Because I think it's really important for us to tell that story, that we're not the ones just building this park because we think it's a cool idea. We actually did have a focus group that said, okay, this is what we want in the playground from, 6 different local organizations that will benefit from us building an inclusive playground. And I loved that mention they did, and getting the video and just kind of like putting it out before it actually is a grand opening. So I'm going to steal that, and kudos to Ann Beck and her team in Mansfield.
We had Neely down about a month ago, and so we were doing an all-employee or a whole department meeting in service, and I was talking to my staff, and I said, I rarely have to defend our department. That's not my job. Like, my job is to tell the story, for sure, to educate the public, to educate council, but like, there's a saying, a truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. You let it out. It defends itself. I believe a well-ran Parks and Rec department does the same thing. Like, I don't have to defend our Parks and Rec department. I just let it be. I let it go out into the public, impact that community. They'll defend it. It defends itself. But I don't know if that was always been the case, and once again, if you're in a town where the YMCA is strong, we've talked to Molly Keith about this too. Like, it can really engulf some of those things. So I think it's really tough for some parts of this country, but I think if we're telling our story better, it puts us in the best chance possible to not have someone say that, or to say it without some sort of repercussion where people say, no, you're wrong. That's your opinion, but you're wrong. Karen, you're showing up in some different rooms, like SMS, being a region or whatever. What made you interested in working more with Jay? Because we work with Jay a lot and find no fun in it at all. And 2, how do you?
First.
I think I was gonna say Karen probably got there before.
Oh, you let him in. Well, that's a totally different question.
Yeah.
Wow. Now this is going a different way.
I guess you take what you know over the unknown, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. That's why we're still here after
That's
almost
fair.
100 episodes. Is we're scared to replace him. He is going through contract negotiations, so we'll see how it goes. But how do you show up in rooms when you show up in these spaces and you're being expected potentially at a state level or at this national level where you're a region or whatever, and let your voice be heard? How do you show up? Are you quiet? Do you lead from the front, lead from the back? Do you try to build consensus? What's your leadership style in those scenarios?
That's a good question. I feel like maybe Jay could answer. I was the chair this year. I don't know. It's really funny because we might get into it a little bit, but there's so many of those personality tests. Like, I did Myers-Briggs like early on with SMS because that's what we used to do. And it told me I was 100% extrovert. And I was like, that is absolutely false. That is
Right.
not me.
You're just doing it when you have to, right?
That's right. I'm somebody like, I think kind of similar. I think I've heard you describe yourself that way, Shane, too. Like, not necessarily a people person, but you have to be sometimes. It's certainly in our field, certainly as a director. I wouldn't say I'm not a people person, but it's not always comfortable. So having to kind of step out of the box and make an effort. But in terms of like our board, I mean, once you meet people, we just had a board meeting this morning. There's a couple of folks that are new that I didn't know going into this past year. And I don't know, sometimes it can just be like a seamless transition. It's like I've known Gabe forever, and it just took one weekend in Boston that we all spent some time together. So But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm more quiet, I guess, but I'm somebody that likes to plan. So what for SMS as the chair this year, I met with the director before every meeting so that we'd make sure we had an agenda and
Mm.
clear goals rather than just showing up and it was a free for all because that's kind of how it's been in the past and it worked, but it just didn't feel as strategic. And I was just trying to kind of wrap my arms around that and just be a little more strategic and goal oriented as we move forward. But
It's so interesting, that conversation of how you show up as a leader in some ways. I had my one-on-one with my boss yesterday, and she was asking me about Wisconsin and was I excited to be going to Wisconsin to present because she knows I'm in some ways wrecked with anxiety. I don't always text back. I see it. I had 40 texts. I made it a point to respond to, like, I got it down to 12 texts and I had 29 texts in 5 minutes. And so it's like, took me 2 weeks to get around to texting these people. Out of guilt, I texted them and they all like whack-a-moled me right back immediately. And it's just like, she knows through my one-on-one and just knowing me, we were colleagues. We were each directors before she got the ASIM role, that I'm a leader at times, I'm a manager at times, but I do that because I actually like the idea of guiding someone in the process of doing something more than I like to do it myself. If I break it down at the most simple level, I enjoy coaching and I always have in some way more than I enjoyed playing the game or doing the thing. Like I enjoy seeing a team put on a great special event more than I enjoyed when I was a programmer putting on a special event. And so that's why I lead. But the social anxiety, the introversion, all that is a battle. And I think just like you said, we show up in these rooms, but we're not always that person that we're showing up as. I think I told Trista, when I show up to Wisconsin, no one's going to know that I didn't enjoy the travel, that I'm super nervous or have anxiety about hanging out with people that I'd probably, Tom and Jay will know, but the people that come up and talk to me, I know my role and I'm going to hit it for the most part the whole time I'm there. But it's how you show up in these spaces that I guess in some ways it stretches you and it makes you probably look in a little bit more. But there are some people that are just brilliant in some aspects of this and can just show up and talk and connect with people in so many ways. And so how you show up for the people or who you're serving or you're leading or whatever it's just something we probably haven't discussed a lot with other people, but it seems it's almost a concerted effort. Like you're almost saying, this is who I'm going to be in this role, whether it's natural at times or not.
I think that's a great point because, sometimes people ask, like, why do you do SMS? Like, why did, a lot of times the students ask, like, why are you here? And it's like, teaching, it's not comfortable for me. I feel like we had that conversation,
Yeah.
Jay, and, Jay's one of the folks, most of the people on SMS are I don't, what do you say? You guys are on a speaking tour, you go to different conferences.
Extroverts. Yeah. Jay could teach all day. I don't think Jay has any problems teaching in a room.
I don't
probably,
do
or
that, but
speaking.
no, Jay has mentioned he gets nervous too, right? Because I get a little
Yeah.
nervous and it's like, it's human. We're all human. Like, so
Yeah. I think the first 5 minutes I'm always nervous, but then like you get
Yeah.
the ball rolling and you're
Comfortable. You
good.
get comfortable. Yep.
Yeah.
but you just kind of go back to like why you're there
Oh,
and
100%.
what you have to offer. And that's all
Yeah.
there. I know that. So it's just, yeah.
Leadership's contextual too. So you think of it from a different perspective of the spaces that you show up in. All of those spaces are different, and so when I'm showing up and Shane and Jay, we've talked about this a lot. I think that people definitely have a leadership gene or whatever it is, right?
I agree.
In their
There's
brain, right?
something,
We've
right.
definitely had that conversation. That said, when I show up as a leader at work with my team, even let's divide that. When I show up as a leader, when we're trying to organize a townwide event, or for the employees, or we're organizing something for rec, it's different than when I'm organizing for parks. That the leader that you show up in, it can vary based on the individuals in the room, and so SMS is a great example. Or serving your state society. The people that are serving on that SMS board, you kind of know what you're getting out of those individuals. So they want to be there. I'm not saying that the people in your office
The
want to
attendees,
be there.
The
No,
attendees, you know what you're getting out of the attendees or the regents?
The regents.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, the attendees I would hope want to be there too. But the regents, they applied to be there. They're those are the most driven people, the best of the best. And so you almost kind of go that. Well, yeah, except for until the
Exceptions,
last
right. It was a weak pool when they brought Jay in, right?
You're talking about Atuya?
So yeah, I mean, I just think that you can show up in those leadership situations, especially in an SMS situation, and say these individuals they're gonna pull their weight, and the way that I have to approach leading them is not going to be the same that maybe if I do back with our rec staff or
But
whoever
there's a
that.
dance, right? Like when Jay and I get in a room, I'm a leader. I've led at the state level, I've led at the national level. I definitely lead my department. I am a leader, right? Jay's a leader in that same capacity. When Jay and I get in a room, we speak. I defer to him 100% of the time. Jay's leading those conversations.
Yeah,
My comfort level is reacting. And same thing with Tom. When I speak with Tom, Tom will say something and then say, Shane, what do you think? Reaction, that's natural for me. I can naturally say what I feel, but leading those things, it almost short circuits me.
That's also because we know each other and we know each other's role. Like I know that when you and I speak together in Wisconsin, like you're more comfortable with me taking that lead, and we don't even have to talk about it. I just know that because we've done it before and
right.
your personality. So I think as a leader, one of the major characteristics that's important is for you to be able to read your staff, read your team, put people in their role to succeed. And, we've talked about, I asked you your first question today about motivation. Like I know as a leader, and I think you all know this, like all of your staff is probably motivated differently.
Mhm.
And you know what motivates them, and you know ways to get them to get to that end game, get to that final result, or ways not to do that. Kind of a little bit goes back to we've talked about working genius. Like we know where people are in that realm of the work module. So you're not going to put them in a situation or in a task that they're not going to strive in just because you know their personality style and you know what's good for them.
Yeah.
But Kieran, would you agree like an extroverted, confident leader can walk into any room and know how they're going to lead? An introverted, more reserved person, which is why I was asking Kieran how she shows up in a room, has to we're temperature testers. We're taking the temperature of the room. Is there a Jay or a Tom that's going to take this over? If they don't, if I'm the person that by default no one else is speaking up, will I speak up? Absolutely. Do I want to? No.
Yeah.
Do I want to take up over that spot? No, not necessarily want to lead all these other leaders, but if no one else is doing it, I'll do it if that's the role. But an introverted person is definitely, or even just more of a reserved person, is taking the temperature of every room they walk in and then reconciling that with their leadership style and ambition and drive, and so that it's just a different cocktail altogether. I mean, Karen, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think, a great example of that too is you've had J. Cole on here twice, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
But she's an extrovert. I'm sure she has her own challenges. We all do, but that's not hard for her to walk into a room and just leave.
No room is she nervous in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it shows up as she's teaching, because we got our evaluations back today, and the overall conference evaluation, there was a question that's like, what was your favorite class? And a lot of them were hers.
Sure.
And I take offense to that. She's great.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, even to your point before moving on to something different, even the best extroverts you would hope, are taking the temperature in there. I like the way that you said that, of just observing and reading a room.
Some of them don't. They walk in a little bit denser because they're just not dense in a bad way. Sometimes dense is used so terribly, but just walking in knowing that they enjoy interacting with people. I think Bill talked about it, that he knows he can suck the life out of the person he's working with if he's not careful, right? As an extrovert, you can feed off others. So,
well, let's go from leadership to mentorship. Karen, that award that you received that's quite the honor. The Dirk Richwine Mentorship Award, National Award. It was created obviously out of the image of one of the best mentors in this profession. So many individuals had a relationship or were touched by Dirk in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, Chris Nunes and Dirk had a really close relationship, and Dirk was a mentor to Chris, and Chris was someone who went on to be awarded that for the first time. Karen, how did that come about for you? Where does your passion for mentorship come from? I'm just so impressed by this, and to be recognized at that level is, it's not a lot of people are going to say they could be.
Thank you. It was a huge surprise for me. It was like one of my direct reports called me into the office and I can't remember the specifics, but I was like, what is he going to tell me? Like, I thought maybe he and his wife were having a baby. Like, it was just like really weird the way he set it up. And then I got into my office and it was my 3 direct reports in here and they were like, we just want to tell you this. And they handed me the letter that I was receiving this award and then all of the backup documentation because the person that kind of led the charge, he got letters of support from people related to supervisors management school, people that I used to work with that I reported or my direct reports. Through Colorado Parks and Recreation Association, I served as a mentor in a mentorship program, a formalized program, and that the individual that I mentored in that program wrote a letter. So it was just like this. The person that submitted the application did a lot of legwork to gather a lot of information, and that just was so meaningful to me. Like I probably almost cried. It was probably the nicest thing that has happened in my life, and looking through that was just, yeah, it was such an honor. So, but how did I get into it? I mean, I think we kind of naturally do these things where we mentor people without it being a formal process. But at one point, I had a former coworker. I wasn't his supervisor, but he worked within my department in Commerce City, and I think it was shortly after he left, and he actually came to Wheat Ridge, and he said, "Hey, would you consider mentoring me?" And then, he thought like maybe we could do this for a year and then do a session at the Colorado Parks and Recreation Association conference about what our experience was, what we learned, and that sort of thing. So we did that. I said, of course. And then it kind of just got the ball rolling. I know that there were some other conversations statewide about creating a program. So we participated a little bit in that. And I would not say I was the driving force behind it at all. There were other people that really took the lead, but it became a formalized program in Colorado shortly thereafter. And then I was just really just a participant. I'm always willing to serve in that capacity. So, and this one, the last year, the person that I was talking about that I mentored through the Colorado Parks and Recreation Association, he actually works for Apex with Hillary Romersberger. And I know that Katie and Monica through the Apex Activated podcast. And I know you've done that collaboration, but he works with them and he's their hockey coordinator. So we don't have hockey here. I've never worked for a municipality with ice. So it was really a beautiful dynamic where we both mentored each other. He invited me over there and he took me behind the scenes and showed me how everything happens, behind closed doors mechanically that I know nothing about. I got to ride the Zamboni. I mean, we had a great time. So, those relationships are never one-sided. And I think that's an important thing for people to know too. So
yeah, it's a great mindset on that. And the fact that this was led by your internal team, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Probably the biggest compliment you can get as a supervisor is to have folks that want to nominate you for an award like that.
Yeah.
When you found out you won, there had to be a name of someone that you thought of that had mentored you that kind of was pivotal to the moment you had gotten where you were. What name came to you?
I would say I have 2, just supervisors.
Well, we only have time for one. So
No.
sorry.
No, we already said 2 each. Come on.
All right, so I'm going to go with Carolyn Keith has since retired. She was the director of Parks and Recreation in the city of Commerce City. And then Sally Rogel was the superintendent. Do you know Sally, Tom?
I do,
She's a legend in New York.
Sally's amazing. Yeah.
Sally was the superintendent for the city of Rye. She's the individual I was talking about that spent her entire career there. And just to hear that comment, and I know it didn't faze her the way it fazed me. She's a tough cookie and she knows what she's contributed to that community. And everybody in the city loved her. Like everyone knew her and loved her. So, it was just a one-off thing, but both amazing professionals that just, when your supervisors truly care about you and invest in you, and they both did. So
That's cool.
I would say.
Well, I know I mentioned earlier about you recently updating your master plan, and I want to go down that path because Shane obviously did that not that long ago as well, and we're getting ready to do that next year. So
We're doing it right now.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So maybe we can all answer this question, except for me, since we haven't done it yet. But Shane, Tom, and Karen can answer this. But from the completion of it, what was your biggest takeaway that you learned about your agency that either you were doing really well or that you needed to improve on from the master plan perspective?
Yeah, I can go since I probably am the longest out from learning it. But we had found out that we had about 60% shade canopy in our park system, and that the citizens wanted more shade, and that we had some aging infrastructure that was kind of low hanging fruit in some ways. Obviously, the Trail Capital Texas concept came out of it as well, where we saw we had more trails than almost anybody else in the state. And so the idea was like, let's just claim it and create like a bragging rights thing. And so that was huge for us. But outside of the Trail Capital Texas process, which took us a couple years to see through fruition, but started in that master plan process in some ways, we were able to get the average age of our park playgrounds from 13 and a half, 14 to right now. I've got 35 playgrounds and the average age is 4.21 years. So the whole system is 5 years or under, and 100% are shaded. And I don't know if I'd have had the momentum to get that if I didn't have the master plan to help me with the narrative to get council. Well, I basically just told council we can be 100% shade coverage, and we can have a playground 5 and under for everything. And then I just told them that I don't know if anybody else in the country has that. Now, once again, I don't know if that was true or not, but they bid on it, and that became their rallying cry. And that's how I got the almost $4.5–5 million to do those types of projects over the next 3 years that have made us have 100% shade canopy, made us have the whole average playground system is 5 or under. So those were great things and things that obviously benefit the community.
What about you, Karen?
So for us, we just adopted ours at the end of October, so it's still relatively fresh. Yeah. Thank you. But I would say nothing that came out of it was really mind-blowing. It just really supports what we already know that we need to invest in, and just shows that the community supports what we do. Most of the feedback was like incredibly positive. You're doing a great job. Just keep doing it, and we want more. But I think it's really critical when you're seeking grant funding to have it in writing. So that's really the biggest point for us, and also for CAPA reaccreditation. You're supposed to be doing these every 10 years. So I don't know. I mean, I think one of the big projects we have coming up is our outdoor pool is reaching the end of its life. And I'm sure everybody knows that pools are extremely expensive. We don't have the funding for it. That for some reason, it's one of those things that you can't find a lot of grant funding for. And if anybody out there listening knows of any magical grant funding that exists, please call me. But seriously, just knowing that we have the community support is really going to be helpful moving forward, because they see that as a gem in our community and something that they don't want to lose. So that was probably the biggest thing for us.
What about you, Tom? I know you're in the middle of it, you said, but is there anything so far?
Yeah, so we just completed the community survey, the kind of public engagement piece. And so that's where we're at. And now obviously that's going to be analyzed. So I was able to get an executive summary from the organization that's assisting us with the process. And, from a perspective of facilities is, I think, where we're learning a lot. And the individuals in the community
that they want them, they want more rec facilities, or?
Well, yes, there's a larger support that they want. They enjoy the quality. So quality and what we currently have is what we've seen in the themes, that the individuals that obviously utilize facilities. That's a whole. The other piece you learn there is you do learn fast what percentage of individuals do not use your facilities. If you're hitting out your individuals who might be more programmatic and maybe not using them for sports or going to the playground, whatever it is, you learn obviously those numbers, which is good to know. There's a segment of individuals that you're not reaching, which I think that's pretty natural. But the common themes that we're seeing so far, and again, without giving it a real deep dive, the quality in what we're putting in, that's what we're trying to do. We've talked about this before. We've revamped our entire baseball complex. It's a big complex. There's 8 fields in one space. That's for our area, that's one of the largest, if not the largest. And we basically hired an individual who only works on baseball fields, and we've redone these fields. And that's just one example, but we're trying to provide a quality and an experience to those that isn't what you typically thought of. We've had that conversation before. Your sandlot, so to speak. We don't want that. We want people to want to come here because they say these are the best fields in the area. So we're seeing some of that, which is great. On the flip side of I don't know if it's not doing well, but it's going to be a really great learning tool. A common theme we've seen from a few questions on I would say not naysayers, but the individuals who are hesitant to expand. they they are very observant and they see the projects that are in construction, and people aren't patient.
Mhm.
When they see something under construction or they see a delay. And so we are seeing some themes of individuals who are saying, we love what you have, but do we really have the capacity to be adding more and maintaining more? And that's going to be an eye-opening conversation to have with the team to really say and look in the mirror and say, is this something we can do? And what comes along with that though? Does that mean we need to create a new position? Does that, think about that. If you bring in a community center and you have a small community center and you're going to go through this, Shane, how many different positions are you going to have to create to
Yeah.
maintain the facility that you're going to be putting into your community?
That new facility will have 12 full-time and 185 part-time staff. Yep.
So it's a lot to consider.
That's a lot. Yep. To add. Jay, knowing what you've done in a master plan in Indian Trail, at least, and I know you've been involved in others, you don't have anything you've gleaned yet, but what are you looking for from your next master plan? What's one of the things you're hoping to get out of it?
I think for us, there's two things. And you mentioned like the user perspective. We have and most departments have this, but we have an awesome return rate from our users. So people that register for a program, they come back. There's a large dynamic of our population here in Concord that don't have parks near where they live. So like we're about to build our first park on the northwest side of Concord. Everything else is more centrally located near downtown. All of our 3 rec centers are within 4 miles of each other, but there's nothing on the other side of Concord. So really trying to grasp like what else we can do to grow attendance and visitation from other parts of Concord that don't have a heavy presence in facilities, that they may not know that we even exist over here because they might go to YMCA because there's a YMCA closer than the rec center is. So stuff like that, just better engagement tools. Then the other side of it for me would be hopefully a more concrete evidence, documentation for us to justify more staff. Like we are completely understaffed the way we are right now. We know that. But until we have something like a master plan that does that analogy or does that, analysis, I should say, we're not going to be able to just say it to city management or council without having that backup plan from a consultant that comes in and compares us to other municipalities our size or other agencies within, North Carolina as a whole. So hopefully those two things can come to fruition.
Hey, Karen, we've had people on in the past that have been in, like we said earlier, park districts in Illinois, park districts in Colorado, and we see those 2 states specifically doing those well. I don't know if we've asked someone that works in Colorado near or even surrounded by park districts, but actually works for a municipality, so has to fight off bond and budget dollars with public safety and fire, police, public works, all those types of things. What's it like being an agency that serves in the municipality realm against, and I know competitors, you're not out there warring against Apex, but your facilities, your programs, your offerings are probably compared in some capacity to theirs, and people might not understand that they're funded differently than y'all are. What's that like for someone that's a municipality in Colorado surrounded or adjacent to some park districts?
I think it just comes down to telling the story. I don't necessarily find that they're competition to us. I mean, people that live maybe on the edge of Wheat Ridge and are close to Arvada might choose to go there. Obviously, most of our facilities have different resident and non-resident rates, so sometimes your cost is a factor and people choose where they go based on that. But I don't know. Honestly, it doesn't come up much with our residents. It's not something that I've had to address a lot. It's more with staff and understanding why Apex does something that they do or why the way that they do it, for example. And it's just different. But
oh, that's interesting. Speak a little more to that. Like staff feel like, damn, I wish we could do it that way, or they're doing something differently, or they're funded differently so they can have a greater success or capacity for something.
Yeah, I would say sometimes that, and I don't know enough about how they operate to really always answer, but I know people over there and can have conversations. But like, for example, is like trainings. I feel like I don't know the number of staff that they have, but it's a lot. And I think they're funded to send everybody to some sort of national training every year, whether it's NRPA or something else. I mean, and going to multiple things, right? Like if
So
I go
your
to
staff,
PA
a rec coordinator sees their rec coordinator go to national conference, and
Yeah.
your department can't afford to send anybody but the
Correct.
director. Gotcha. Yeah.
And I would say we're not like that either, where we just send the director. We have a pretty healthy budget too, but a lot of times it's people going to our state conference
Sure.
and just a handful of people going to a national conference.
There's a limit at some point. It's
Yep,
not infinite.
absolutely. And I feel like they're a little more unlimited. And sometimes, and I could be wrong, I don't know. Sometimes I see things on social media and I feel like things maybe happen quicker there sometimes where we maybe have a little bit more red tape.
Because that funding source, or because they don't have to, their HR person they have to talk to, or their legal person they talk to is in their district versus yours is a different department. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Karen,
we're
I know
great
I said-
partners. I mean, honestly, we have like a joking relationship of competition, but I mean,
Sure.
they're great partners and great resources. And
You don't want to say anything bad about them? This is your time.
I don't think so. No, but I will
Okay.
tell you, I was a little nervous to come on your podcast because you actually talk about Parks and Rec, and they just asked me about my vacations and my self-care routines. So
Well, we're fixing to get to that.
That's next.
We're going to
Okay,
get there. But before we get there, I do have one more question. I know I've kind of mentioned this to you before. Whenever we've had other Colorado guests on the show, I've always shared that I have a handful of agencies that I love to follow on social media or that I look up to just because I've always seen great things. And several of them are in the Colorado area. Is there other agencies that you, whether they're in Colorado or outside, like what agencies do you track and follow and look up to just based on things you see?
Pflugerville, obviously.
obviously, yes. I mean, well, we know that.
The Ville.
Obviously.
Gosh, I'm trying to think of who comes up. Obviously, Apex. I mean, I follow them because they're local. The town of Erie is always putting out some great stuff. They have incredible employees there too. Commerce City is where I used to work, so I certainly follow them and they're doing great things. Again, Chad is the director there now, the individual I was talking about earlier. And I mean, I'm constantly telling him the team is changed. It's funny. I've been gone for 6.5 years and I pretty much don't know anybody there anymore. So the team has turned around quite a bit, but they're doing great things. And, I love that when it's not like you want turnover necessarily, but new ideas come in and things change. And I just really like to see that like fresh perspective sometimes. So I don't know who else. I don't know.
No, that's fine. Those are a couple good ones. Erie's awesome. They've always done some awesome things.
Yeah.
So we're going to switch it up, like we said, and get to some rapid fire, some fun questions. And I'm going to kick it off. And one other thing that you and I always talk about is music.
Yeah.
And earlier this season, we had Christine Stratton on and had a lengthy conversation with her about music and concerts. And I know you are an avid
Karaoke.
concert goer. What's that?
And karaoke.
And karaoke. But as we wrap up 2025, what was your favorite concert of this past year and what venue was it?
That's tough.
Now, while you're thinking about it, let's recap. Christine went to, I want to say
25 or something?
it might have been more, only for one band, right?
Yeah.
It was something
Wasn't it
ridiculous.
40 over the course
I
of
think
the
it
year,
was.
but 25
Yes.
for one or something?
Yeah, she went to 47 concerts in 1 year, and over 20 of them was one
Grateful-
band, I believe.
Grateful Dead, I believe.
Dead & Co. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting fact.
So my reason I say it is, are you going that often, or like how many concerts are we talking a year?
I might go to that many a year, but not for the same artist, though I am a big Michael Franti
Okay.
and Spearhead fan, and they come to Colorado and they play Red Rocks, they play Boulder, they play Vail, I'll go all around and see them here. And last year I also happened to see them in Cleveland because that's where I'm from. As you talked about sports in the beginning, Browns fan, it's rough. It's a rough life. Anywho,
Sorry.
yeah, so I just happened to be in town when they were in town, but I don't typically travel all around to see a band. But I don't know about a favorite. I mean, always it's the most recent one that comes to my head. I just saw Nathaniel Rateliff in the Night Sweats with Mavis Staples at the Mission Ballroom, and it was their annual holiday show, and Mavis Staples is a legend, so it was just cool to see her. I saw her at the Byron Bay Blues Fest in Australia a couple years ago. So that was it anyway. And Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, they're just great, but they were inducted to the Colorado Music Hall of Fame that night. And I don't know whether it was unexpected or not, but they just, were planning to end their show at a certain point, but then they just kept going because I think that just the vibe was good and they felt really good. So it was a really great show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Michael Franti, and that's how I am with Dave Matthews Band.
Yep.
But Mavis played with Dave Matthews Band a couple years ago. She is a beast.
She's
her
like
voice was incredible.
80 something. She's
Yeah.
yeah.
Shane, are you into this? Do you understand the lingo right now?
So
I don't. I'm gonna be honest.
here's my fear is that y'all are all playing a trick on me and you're making names up because I've never heard of Michael Fontanio or Mavis or whoever these other people are. And it's like, did y'all get together and say we're just going to make up names, just follow my lead, and y'all are making shit up? Because I don't know anything
she's
about
I
a
don't
it.
legend.
think they would do that because you would never really look it up, so it'd kind of be
No.
lost if you
What
know.
kind of music do you listen to, Shane?
I don't listen to a lot of music.
He
That's
doesn't listen
probably
to
the
music.
problem. Yeah. I listen to like soundtracks. So I'll watch a movie
Okay.
and that movie was interesting. And so I'll be like, oh, I'll just listen to the Top Gun soundtrack. And so then I'm listening to Lady Gaga or whatever because she's playing in the thing, but like I don't listen to anything else of her. So I
Well,
don't
what's
know.
the best movie soundtrack of all time?
Ooh.
I like The Intern. The Intern's good. This Is Where I Leave You is a great one.
I like High Fidelity.
Top Gun's probably, I've never seen High Fidelity the movie.
Check it out.
Great movie.
Okay.
John Cusack.
I'll have to look that up. Then maybe I'll get a new soundtrack.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
you're up.
Thank you.
New York. Let's go back to New York. We don't talk a lot about New York, but when you were here, I know the food style is a little different downstate, upstate, but it's fairly similar. What were your
Yeah, they
go-tos
throw a bunch of
when you
shit on a
were-
plate and just throw cheese or
No,
gravy
that's
over it.
not. That's definitely just an upstate Western New York thing. That's not a downstate thing. I'm talking more pizza, Italian, that type of food is probably more common. So what were your go-tos in New York? Did you have any either a restaurant or just the type of food that you miss?
Yeah, I mean, in New York, there were like Greek diners everywhere.
There are
You don't
diners
see those
everywhere.
out here. So I do
Yeah.
miss that, just the comfort food on a random day. But in terms of pizza, I'm kind of funny. I was never a New York pizza gal. Like people would come to town and like, let's go get pizza. And I'm like,
Sure.
okay, but I would always get a Sicilian slice when I was at the pizza shop, which is
Okay.
great. I have no problem with that. But yeah,
So you
guess
were
I'm-
closer to the big city, I guess.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Westchester County is just north of the Bronx. So yeah.
Okay, so it's my question, and you said Browns, and you were in Colorado. Are you a Shador fan? Can he lead y'all out of this abyss?
I'm not sure, but what I can tell you is that with Deshaun Watson, I just kind of decided I needed a break. I would go to
Mhm.
Browns backers bar every single game from the time I moved here in 2011 until then, and I just said I need a break. So I have not gone in 2 years, and actually our chapter, the Browns backers bar of Denver, won the chapter of the year last year, and even though I didn't go to a single game, I'm closely engaged with that group, so I still got invited to the party.
Like,
But
Most tiers? Is that like what's the award that they
Yeah,
win?
something like
it's
that.
gotta be a somber. So
I connect with that. I'm a Tottenham fan too. It's an English Premier League soccer club, and
Yep.
what I tell people Tottenham has done is that it corrects my mindset for what disappointment in life really is. And I think you should marry a Tottenham fan because they're absolutely loyal. You know, like they'll never cheat on you. They just live in the misery. If you're a terrible partner, they're there with you. You know, hopefully you're a great partner. But if you're terrible, they just live with you because you're just used to disappointment in life. Sounds like Browns fans are the same
Yep.
way.
I just saw it was something on Instagram about that. It was like, how do you know he's going to be a good guy? And it just zooms in on the guy in his brown gear. He's loyal.
You know, let me ask one quick follow up to the Browns. I think that this all started when the Browns came back and Tim Couch was drafted, and that was a whole disappointment. I think he was the number one overall pick, and it didn't work out. Anyway, the quarterback carousel continued. This may be very Monday morning quarterback of me, but the Deshaun Watson thing was wild. That anybody would take that type of a risk, given all that we knew. Injuries, whatever. Baker Mayfield. Again, this is the Monday morning quarterback piece.
Yeah.
I love Baker Mayfield. The grit, the attitude. Yeah, he was a little edgy for some people, but it was the chip on your shoulder. He took them from a winless team to
Playoffs.
how
Went to
did
the playoffs.
how did Browns fans feel about that? Why did they let him go? I don't talk to a lot of Browns fans. I just don't get it.
What? You don't?
I don't.
No,
No.
I can't speak for everybody else, but I feel like Cleveland did him dirty. They said, "You're our guy," and then the next day they were like, "See you later."
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him, and I'd like to see him have success elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with him saying he hates Cleveland because I would too if I was in his position.
Is Colorado the type of place that this is your last stop, this part of the state, or do you ever see yourself going anywhere else?
That's a good question. I have thought about, I love it here. So probably yes, but I also have been to places in Oregon that I love. So that's
You
another.
keep going west, right? You went New
for
York,
sure.
and then you just keep going.
Yeah. But I also would have no problem, entirely leaving this country and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
I just
Further west.
I was in Spain and Portugal, loved it. I was like, I could live here. Aside from the lifestyle it would take some getting used to. Everyone sleeps in really late and then stays up late. I get up super early. So that would be rough, a rough transition. But and everybody smokes cigarettes. Everybody. Gross.
Where's this? I may have to,
In
if I can
Spain.
smoke cigars, sleep
Yeah.
in, and stay up late, maybe I need to move there.
You should move to Spain.
Let's do it.
That'd be a long flight for you, my friend.
There's
One
there's
time, not a
certain-
round trip, just a one way.
That's right.
one way.
But the A-Team, which is another TV show that I probably could have said
Great
as a
show.
kid. I love the A-Team, but they'd knock Mr. T out anytime he had to fly, and he'd just wake up. That's what you'd have to do with me on a Europe trip. Just knock me out.
And I would also like to clarify on that point that Alf is actually a terrible TV show. I liked it as a child, but it is difficult to watch as an adult.
My brother was super into Elf, and so I watched it by default. I have two more rapids. I hope we have time, but this will be a quick one. What does it entail to be a part of the Elf fan club?
I think I can't remember. I mean, it was so long ago, but what I recall is that I did get like a autograph 5x7 headshot of
Okay.
Alf.
All
So
right.
I mean, that's legit.
It's huge. And Alf stood for something, right?
Alien
Like
life
Alien,
form.
yeah, Alien.
Alien life form.
Pretty
Okay.
simple.
Yeah, I
All right,
still remember that. It was autographed. It said, "Yo, thanks for being a fan. Love Alf."
Let me just do my last one here, Jay, and then you guys can take over. This is a fun one. There's 4 of us here.
Okay.
There are 4 Ninja Turtles. All right. So, do you have a basic knowledge of the Ninja Turtles, Karen?
I mean, I couldn't tell you their personality one from another. I mean, when you were talking about that, I was
okay.
more into Vanilla Ice at the time, so that was
So you might have
Vanilla
saw
Ice.
the movie.
Right.
brought me in.
Okay. I mean, I want us to come out of this episode with one of us is Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and
You may just have to
Raphael.
appoint us.
Yeah, you might have to do that. I could do it by color, but I can't do it by personality or name.
I was gonna say I don't know the personality other than one like pizza more than the other. That's it.
Well, then, for those of you who know the personalities,
That's a question. We should put on a poll.
I would say, yeah, I would be curious to hear what others say, but yeah, I would go Shane's a little Raphael.
Okay.
He's
That was the
very-
red, right?
He was the red one. You got your red shirt. And I was actually going to say that Jay might be a little Leonardo and some Donatello for Karen. And I don't know why. I just really like Michelangelo, but I'm going to.
Leonardo wore the blue.
He did.
What
Karen.
did
Which is
Donatello
Jay.
wear?
Donatello wore the purple.
Purple.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We'll put that as a poll question.
There we go.
I like it.
Social.
So you mentioned your
Can we do this
recent-
for Halloween next year? Like, all-
Yes.
The turtles.
That would be great.
okay,
That would be
I'm here
fun.
for it.
Yeah. You mentioned your recent Spain, Portugal trip, and you've always been known to take some exotic, fun vacation trips, and we sometimes have to live through you when you have these. What's your next one? Do you have one scheduled yet?
I don't.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
the only thing I have is a ski weekend. I don't even ski at all. This is like you can learn how to skate ski, which is some version of cross country skiing, I guess. I don't know. And it's somewhere near Steamboat. So
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
see, and the other guys may not remember, but when we were on the Apex Activated, they talked about you from going to Bali.
yeah.
So like that's why I say there's been some fun exotic places. So that I'm looking forward to hear where you're going to go next.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe it was even on your podcast. They were like, Mercury's in retrograde. We need to talk to Karen. I was like, I don't know anything about that. You clearly don't know me. So
What'd you do in
Anyway.
Bali? Carry sticks uphill or something? Did you find a way to hate it, or did you just relax the whole time?
well, I went to a music and yoga retreat with Michael Franti, who you claim to not know. He has a
Are you
resort.
making up names again?
Why? Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty
Well,
great.
Karen, this was awesome. I appreciate you taking the time with us, and it's always fun to talk to you. And I got to see you twice today in back-to-back
Yay!
meetings, so this was great.
So good. Thank you guys so
Did
much.
y'all have a regent
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
said that
Wow.
earlier. You
I
must
think
not have been
that's-
listening.
I was thinking about Michael Frantionti. I was so excited about him.
I'll send you a playlist.
All right.
You will
See you,
probably
Karen.
know. Well, I say this. Most people will definitely know a couple songs.
Yes, you would know.
You
If you got a
should.
commercial or something and you're like, oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll see if you do or not.
I thought Adele's name was Adelaide for the first 3 years she was
Adelaide.
popular. So I'm not the person you need to be talking to with music for sure.
I agree with that statement that you're not the right person. Well, Karen,
Thanks for
thank
coming
you
on,
again.
Karen.
Yeah. Thank you so
And
much.
This was awesome.
Take care, Karen.
See ya.
Bye.
She's great.
She is fantastic. I always enjoy talking to her.
So she led the Regents.
She did. She was our chair this year. And it was
That's
funny.
not a small lift either, is that? That's a pretty big deal.
No, and it's interesting because you asked the question earlier about her leadership style, and like she began to say, well, like you could ask Jay because she did this year, and like she hones in on our skill sets and wants to lead by letting us like in a way take some charge, but also like keep us in line to make sure that like it's in the right direction that the school needs to be going in, and also in line with like what her goals are for the year. So it's great. It's a little bit of both. It's like, hey, I want to use my skill set, but I also want you guys to thrive. So I don't want to go off the rails and like tell you or lead in a direction that's not going to make you successful as a team. So which is successful overall like attitude when you talk about leadership. Like you want your team to use the resources that you're providing them, but you want them to use their skill sets, but you also want to guide them to like meet the goals that you're putting in place for them. So it was fantastic.
I think it's interesting. We talk about going to other events or facilities and we judge them, how they're running them, how they're managing them, how they look or whatever. I think we're also leaders in this industry and we're leaders of our departments, but I do find myself observing leadership in a lot of different capacities, whether it's the store manager and how they're managing their staff or when we're interacting with other people. And when you find someone that knows how to bend their leadership style to get the best out of their staff, it's always exciting just to observe and I always learn something from them. And she seems like someone that definitely has that in her toolbox for sure.
Well, see, I've learned a lot in just like getting prepped for this because I didn't know about her time in New York. Like I only have known her for the last 10 years and it's all been in Colorado. So it was neat to learn a little bit more of that background and other things that she's done. And we didn't even get into all of it because she actually spent some time at a university college in New York too as an adjunct. And like we just didn't get to that just based on time.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have another former. We lost another good one, but always good to have some representation. And I just want to end on one piece here from just the thought process. We talked about it, and I can't say enough. Receiving that Dirk Richrun Award, I mean, that's a big
huge
deal. That's a huge deal. So
for the person it's named after and for the people that have already won it, like you're just in this rarefied air,
So
and there's only been 3. So like, it's not like that award has been around for a long time. I mean, to be the 3rd person to get it is extra special. I mean, it's already an incredible honor, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's cool to have her on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, guys. Well, we have a quick turnaround because we have another one we're going to be recording in like 3 days, which is normally not our routine. So
not our routine. So we get to see each other again.
Is this Shane's guess?
Mine, yeah.
It's probably either Michael Franti or Mavis.
Have I said his name right yet?
I mean, say it again.
Fronteri? No,
that is not correct.
Michael Frontface.
Michael semi-hard name.
Semi-hard name.
I will go out on a limb and buy you lunch if you do not know like any of his songs. I guarantee.
Yeah, I normally hear something. They're like, "Oh, that's Adele," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I've heard that before." But
you will definitely know it. Well, until next time, guys. This was great. And
see ya.
Thank you, listeners. We'll talk to everyone soon.
See you, everyone.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.